you wanna give us a little brief backstory about like your career and how you kind of like got to the point of starting your own business?
Are you going to do this? Aren't you going to say, introduce yourself?
I was gonna, but then like generally I introduce people like myself on the podcast anyway.
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
You'll know this because you've listened to all the episodes, Mel.
I have, mate. All of them. Every single minute of every single episode. I'm your biggest fan. Yeah, well, obviously, we worked together a while ago, didn't we, at the Box Tree, and it all started a few years before there, just as a waiter, really. Funnily enough, I started front of house and not really enjoying food or anything like that. It was just a job, and and I had no intention. I was a gym guy, and that's what I was doing. But it was just amazing. I started this restaurant in Plymouth, down by the quayside, and it was a fish restaurant. And up to that point, probably fish fingers was as adventurous as I got with fish. And just time, just working there and seeing what the guys were doing with the fish, and every now and again there was like little tasters, and I'll give it a go. And I think I was actually turned on turbot. We had some turbot sort of not overcooked, but spare one night. And I tried it, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I kind of slowly got the feeling that if you had something that was cooked properly and served properly, then it was actually really good. So kind of the passion started there, really, and that was around 13, 14 years ago. But I worked there as a waiter, front of house manager, finished, and then went into the kitchen. It was a sort of funny story, really, that the head chef was reluctant to hire me. I was a sort of slightly mouthy 18-year-old, but he gave me an opportunity. And again, it was another fish restaurant, another seafood restaurant in Salcombe, down in Devon, and it all started there, and just sort of snowballed, really. It's almost been a bit of a sort of whirlwind kind of sort of 15 years, really. I've not stopped and gone from one restaurant to another. Spent some time in London working for Marco Pierre White, which was great. Tough living in London and fitting in. I kind of went on a whim, and I didn't. I had a job, but ultimately I had nowhere to live, and I didn't know anybody. So it was on a whim, but I think in life it's those decisions that probably define you a little bit, and kind of moving to London properly started my sort of journey of chefing properly. But serious food there. He was cooking some of Marco's kind of signature dishes that he was doing when he had sort of Harvey's and his other restaurants that were 2-3 Michelin. So it's kind of where it all started, and it was quite fun. It was at Chelsea Football Club, so you had match days, which was completely different. So match days were just about feeding people as quick as possible, and it was steak and eggs, and it was potted shrimp, and it was really different. It was quite relaxed food, but quite quick. But all done with Marco's flair. Lots of flavours, fresh herbs, and he's kind of all about that. And yeah, from there I actually met my wife in London. So that was again a defining move. We met through friends in a nightclub of all places, and yeah, we kind of hit it off on the first night, really. And from London, she was visiting me, which was she's from the Czech Republic, so she was visiting me. And then after that, I was kind of, when we finished in London, it was like, well, do you know what? Let's give it a go in Czech. So we, again, 19, 20, however old I was, not really a care in the world. Just thought, I'll pack my bags and let's move to a different country. Again, a great move. It was great in Czech. I loved it. I learned a different style of food. Different cultures, and yeah, we moved back to England, to Leeds, to Yorkshire, where I met you, and yeah, again, it's just kind of been, there's been no breaks, really. As soon as we moved back, I got a job with Anthony Flynn in Leeds, who's again a top chef, and he's worked at some amazing places, and that was a great experience. And then I was lucky enough to get the opportunity to work at the Box Tree in a Michelin star restaurant, and we might get interrupted here. The Fishman's coming in. It's all part of the action.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, you know, it was a bit of a whirlwind, sort of being thrown into the box tree, and again, probably I tend to sort of take quite big leaps in my career, so it's start kind of almost out of my depth and kind of just jumping in the deep end. So taking jobs that I weren't probably really ready for. Just upstairs, buddy. Yeah, cheers, mate. Thank you. You know, just sort of taking on jobs that I weren't really ready for, and kind of trying to fill the position and the shoes of people before me that I probably wasn't ready for. But again, it sculpts you in it, and it makes you learn quickly and fast. But you have to. And then actually after the box tree, I went back to Anthony's as head chef. So you know, it's career progression, and did that for a few years. And then we kind of decided that it was time to do something myself, and that's when we looked at setting up La Casita. Really, it wasn't always going to be a Spanish tapas bar, but it was meant to be my own business and something that I could really sort of sink my teeth into. You know, I'd always grafted and worked really hard for other people, and it was about seeing if you could translate that and put it into your own business. And we were lucky enough at the time that my business partner had a good friend who had a restaurant who had was actually a little tea room that he didn't know what to do with in a lovely little arcade in Ilkley. And we yeah, it's Simon. Yeah, cheers, buddy. Yeah, so we had this lovely little tea room in this Victorian arcade, and we sort of transformed it into a little kind of Andalusian tapas sort of vibe bar. And you know, again, jumping in the deep end, we didn't know everything about Spanish food and tapas, but we did our research. We learned quickly. We opened with a bang. We were sort of, you know, very popular and successful from day one, really, which was nice, because obviously opening a restaurant's always a gamble, always a plunge, and you know, you want to be busy. If you open the doors and you're quiet, you know, you start to get little sort of demons creeping in, thinking that it's not going to work. So that was nearly 7 years ago now. And since then, we've opened 4 more. So we have 5 sites now across Yorkshire. I mean, now one, this is in Skipton. Salvador Dali in the background is kind of a big theme of what we do. He's kind of in the restaurants and on our menus. And yeah, it's challenging every day. Every day is different. You know, I know it's sort of the same kind of menus and food, but the customers are different and challenges are different, especially in the current climate, really.
Nice. So I guess what was the at the stage when you were kind of made the decision that you wanted to open up a business? Like how did you meet the people, your business partners? How did you go about actually setting up the business?
So I mean, we one of our business partners, our main one who we started with, a guy called Ben Riley. He was actually a partner in a pub that me and Ollie used to run. Kind of missed that bit out, but we used to run a pub. We met Ben there. Ben's in recruitment, and he's just a real foodie, and that's kind of why he gets involved in restaurants, and he's just a foodie, and he loves to eat out and drink out. So he kind of got involved with us at the start with La Casita. There was only 3 investors in the first restaurant. So we set that up, and like I say, it was quite low entry. It wasn't really very high risk. You know, it was a little place in Ilkley. It's not a big city centre kind of, you know, £100,000, £200,000 a year rent. You know, it was a little sort of cafe in Ilkley, and we transformed it, like I say, into a sort of lovely little restaurant. And it was quite low risk. And we thought, you know what, we've invested a little bit of money into this. If it doesn't work, we've given it a go. And like I say, you know, from sort of day one, it was quite popular. The idea was always to open up more. It was never the idea just to have one little tapas bar in Ilkley. If we was going to open up one restaurant, it would be a posh place with you know, sort of more my area of training, you know, sort of French style, modern kind of food. You know, the opportunity, the excitement of opening a tapas bar, that it was very, and it still is, you know, small plates are very much in vogue now. You know, everyone's doing it. Pubs are doing it. Italian restaurants are doing it. You know, Chinese, Japanese, they're all doing a small plate menu, and it's very, the whole sharing vibe is very in vogue. And even, you know, even if you go with your wife, with your girlfriend or friends, you know, a lot of people still get main dishes and put them in the middle and share. So it's, you know, it is very much on trend at the minute. And that was probably the best opportunity at the time to go into something that would have the longevity and have the opportunities to grow. So when it luckily opened and it was successful, you know, after kind of 8 to 12 months, we started looking for other sites around the similar business model. So the business model is quite small entry. You know, we make the venues nice, quite rustic, and you know, we don't go for these big city centre places. You know, we try to pick something a little bit more off the beaten track and allow. It's very much about reputation. Like I say, we're not on the main streets anywhere really. We're all about the word of mouth that La Casita is a great brand. The food's great, and they're going to get great service. It's relaxed, and it's you know, and yeah, it's a great experience. So that's kind of our business model. And like I say, we've up to kind of the last sort of 18 months, we've gone along at kind of opening up one a year. So for the first 5 years, we managed to open one a year. And that was kind of all through sort of self-growth, really. We did get a few other investors along the way, so there's a few more investors involved now. There's one gentleman who's actually equal parts with the other three of us now. So there's 4 kind of main investors and then two more investors. And he's a great bloke. He owns a marketing company, so he's very helpful with marketing, and he's been very instrumental in helping us along the way with just general kind of business advice. But, you know, we've tried to use either sort of a bit of money or investor money or money that we've made through the restaurants, as opposed to, you know, running off to the banks to get loans. So it's kind of been, you know, exponential growth. It's been quite quick. You know, like I say, we have obviously not opened one for a while, and that was probably a decision before COVID, really, that we would probably batten hatches down a little bit and then start to get all the restaurants, you know, kind of where we want them to be, and then again, you know, look at having another push later. And obviously, COVID slowed everything down, and now we're kind of just steadying the ship and kind of just steering it through, like everyone is, you know, just, I mean, unless you had the idea to open somewhere before, I don't think anyone's looking to do something new. So yeah, it's just about steadying the ship now. And it has been, you know, people are coming back, and, you know, we're thankful that they are. And apart from a couple of quiet nights midweek, it's all right. You know, some of the restaurants are actually doing what they were doing before it all happened. So it's great. But yeah, that's the kind of journey of setting up the business, really, and how we've kind of grown since.
Yeah, and so taking it back to the very first restaurant, did you have that kind of, while you were setting it up, did you have that kind of thing in your head that it needs to be something that be able to be replicated again?
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, the plan was always to open up more than one. So we created quite a strong brand that could be a brand. You know, sometimes you look at independent sites and it is very independent, and we kind of wanted a brand that was classy and quite chic, but that you could see like everywhere. You know, the ambition's not to take over the world and be the next sort of Latasca, you know, but it was always to grow, and it was always to create a brand that if people saw, they recognised it with quality. I think we did that from day one. Now, you know, naively, not saying that we got everything right, we certainly didn't. And if you go back to our menu on day one, you know, it looks quite scrappy, really, to what we've got now. You know, we've got something much more chic now. But this has been over the 5 years, and we've got, you know, various people working with us and for us now, and our designer does all our stuff. So it's not a bit done by you and a bit done by me, and it just, you know, so everything is much more brand orientated now. But it did start back then. You know, it did start like we need a strong brand. And it was actually a good friend of mine. You know him, I think, Colin. Colin Hill, you know, who owns Chilled Events. He actually helped us set up all the restaurants. Really, he's got a really great eye for design. You know, he runs an events company, but he's really cool, and like I say, he's got a great eye for fashion and design. And he's, you know, he kind of set up Ilkley with us. He was very instrumental in the way Ilkley looked. And do you know what? You know, on sort of 6 and a bit years later on, it still looks cracking. You know, it still fits. You know, it's not outdated. It's not, you know, and that's testament to him. And again, he helped us with the branding and set that all up. So, you know, a lot of sort of, you know, props to him that he sort of helped us with that. You know, the vision for the food, you know, a lot of the dishes, I mean, they're cooked the same today as they were then. You know, you've found a great way of cooking prawns, for example, or the chorizo, and we don't, you know, that's what's made us successful, or that's what's made us, you know, popular since day one, and we're not going to change that now. What we do change is some of the other dishes. You know, we always keep our staples on. You'll always find bravas and prawns, and you know, the things that kind of got us going, really. And it's the other dishes that change around it. But yeah, you know, it was the plan, and like I say, I think we've created a bit of a brand, and not just with the actual branding, but with, you know, the venues. We use the same colours. We use the Dali throughout. You know, if you go into a restaurant around this area and you see a Dali, a lot of people now just associate that with La Casita, because you don't, you know, you don't see him anywhere else. You know, and the colours, we use the same patterns, the same tiles. You know, most of our bars are like copper topped, or do you know what I mean? We do kind of just stick to the same model, really. It's not like a McDonald's that's flat packed and all put up and looks exactly the same, but there's plenty of stuff to pull that, you know, that you're in a La Casita. And if you're a fan and you go to La Casita, then you know those kind of things that I'm talking about, the Spanish kind of red quarry tiles that we have, and you know, it's all just on brand. It's all trying to create a, you know, without actually looking at a sign or a menu, you know where you are, and that's kind of what we set out to do. So, you know, obviously we're still working on it. We still have people coming to Ilkley that first timers didn't even know we were there, and that's 6 years on. So it is a constant marketing battle. You know, sort of constantly trying to get your name out there, but that's just part of anything, I guess.
Yeah, so. And in terms of the actual growth of the business, how were you able to kind of manage, like, from obviously going from one restaurant to two, etc.? So I think, like, just like thinking back to like my experience of going from one restaurant to two, like I remember just trying to get right, having the right staff in the right place, and you don't want to take all the staff out of one place and move them to another, and just getting that balance right is quite difficult. Yeah, well, the staffing is the hardest part of it all, really. Definitely. I mean, finding a venue, easy. You know, doing all the legals, just time consuming. You know, not difficult, time consuming, and you know, renovations. We renovate most of the places ourselves. You know, we do get the professionals in to do, you know, the bits that we can't do. But, you know, when we took Skipton on, we knocked all the walls down. We did all the plump work, all the donkey work that most people would pay people to do. And it gives us that little edge, and, you know, we kept costs down. But, you know, the staffing is the hardest bit. And we've always, it's just succession planning, really. It's always, you know, we knew we were opening. And it's all about just employing the right people at the right time, even if that time's before you need them. So, you know, we took on a chef to open Boston's Bar probably about 3 or 4 months before we needed him. But we felt he was the right chef for that venue. And we needed to train him up and get him up to speed. And he managed to bring a chef with him who we didn't have to take on as much in advance. You know, one chef there knew how we wanted things done. And we were quite lucky with that. And
Manager wise, again, we were quite lucky, the right person at the right time. He came on a little bit later, but he was very experienced and he'd had a wealth of restaurant experience. And this was almost, you know, it was not easy for him, but it was kind of a good fit for him at the time. And it's just about that, you know, that's kind of always sort of not affected us throughout, but because we've grown quite quickly, we've always kind of had that point where we've been overstaffed and we've never really, you know, like now we're just really sort of cutting back with everything because we need to, but also we haven't grown. So this is what I was saying before, that, you know, that's when you get a true idea of your costs and profitability, because we've always been overstaffed. We've always been opening new venues. And if you get the right manager or the right person come along, and you snap them up, because then you've got the, so when you open, I mean, and touch wood, you know, any sort of venue we've opened, there hasn't really been any real problems, you know, they've been quite smooth, and that's because we've had the right people. I mean, and I've always kind of made myself free when we're opening, so I can go into a new kitchen, work with the head chef there, so we know from day one that the food's spot on. We're not going to have problems with the food. Might have a few, you know, service issues. You just getting used to things. I remember actually when we were opened Boston Spa, all the electricity went off in the kitchen on the opening night, and the chefs, we were finishing cooking by you know, phone line, because we had people in, and the customers didn't know any different. It was just the kitchen lights that went off. The customers had a great night. We didn't, you know, but that's kind of what you do. And like I say, we've always made ourselves sort of free for a new opening. And so we've always been able to make sure that the first couple of weeks are usually when places struggle, that we've been hands-on and we've been able to just sort of see that transition. I mean, it's been less in some places. You know, we had a great team when we opened Leeds, and I think I worked there for like 3 days. And I thought, you know what, I don't really need to be here. And I went back to one of the other sites. Skipton was a bit longer. So, you know, you just do what you need to do. It's good that as owners, myself and Ollie are really hands-on, and we can do any aspect of the business if we need to. So, you know, I could do front of house, I could run a shift if I needed to, or so I'm much better in the kitchen. And same with Ollie, you know, he can do either or. So we haven't been in a position that some owners are in when they open up and they haven't got the right person, but they can't do it themselves. So, you know, they either suffer when they're opening, or they, you know, massively overstaff, or they pay someone too much money, or, you know what I mean? You know how it is. And like I said, we've always been in a lucky position, really, that we've been able to sort of do that. But that's kind of how we've built the brand. You know, I was always, if I set up my own business, it was always going to be something that I, you know kind of all aspects of. And, you know, taking front of house into consideration, you know, catering for, you know, around sort of 16 to 18 years probably. So I've been around a bit, you know, I know how things work. So yeah, I guess that's it really, how we did it. You know, we didn't have big salary packets to throw around at people, you know, so we've kind of got a great core now of people, you know, a few chefs that have actually been with us since day one, which is great. And we've always kind of got people in on passion. You know, we make, you know, we've made everything fresh, and we cook everything on site, and you know, the food and the recipes are really good. You know, they are good, and we kind of rely on that. And now we've tried to sort of start to give people a bit more life balance as well. So, you know, again, like I say, we can't really match the big salaries that some city centre places pay, but you know, you're getting all the hassle in these places, and you know, everything comes back to you. I've done it when I worked at Anthony's. You know, it could be a 7-day week if one of your chefs don't turn up, and it's do you know what I mean? And when we don't ask that from them, because we can jump on, we can cover. So you're trying to give people a bit of peace of mind and a bit of balance back, that, you know, yeah, they're in catering, but they don't have to work the silly hours that people used to, you know. And that's it. And like I say, we have got some really loyal people now that have been with us for a long time. And then you have the transient people that come and go, but the core has stayed the same now for a while, which you kind of always feel if you've got that core, then it doesn't really matter what happens, do you know what I mean? You'll get out of it, and these people will stand by you, and that's kind of a nice feeling to have, really. You know, so big up to all them really that have stood with us, and kind of live and breathe it like we do.
In terms of like managing your own time now, you haven't got necessarily any openings. Is it just a case of like you guys kind of just fitting in as and when needed, or is it just always obvious kind of, right, I need to be there?
Yeah, again, it's one that sort of me and the wife kind of sort of come together with sometimes. Like, it's difficult when you own a business. You feel that you've got to be hands on. There's sort of an old classic saying of, you know, work at your business and not in your business. So if you spend too much time doing the daily grunt, you know, all the kitchen shifts and stuff, you do miss the bigger important stuff.
Yeah.
But then, you know, catch-22, if money's tight, you know, you go in and you do the good work because you need to save that money. So that is where we are at the minute. Obviously, with the current climate, you know, we're running quite tight ships, and we are doing a lot of the sort of daily work. But I don't know, I just feel at this moment in time that's kind of where we're best suited. You know, before COVID, I was doing a prep kitchen job. So, you know, prepping for helping sites out, again, helping that balance to give people a bit more time off, but controlling costs better because I was portioning things and making sure that they were, you know, on point and the quality was there. And that's something we trialed, you know, over Christmas, and it did work, but it was a luxury now that, you know, that we can't really have. And
yeah,
it is nice sort of, you know, the best thing about cooking is the buzz of service. You know, it's not doing all the prep all day. It's that kind of hour or two in service where you're up against it, and that's the buzz, and that's why people love catering. It's not all the long hours, you know, peeling potatoes at whatever time you come in, whatever time you start in the morning, or, you know, picking herbs and stuff. That's not the exciting bit. It is the buzz of service. And
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, answer to your question, that we kind of just do what needs to be done. You know, Ollie spends a lot of time sort of doing office-based stuff as well, so helping out with all the accounts and stuff, and filling in sort of shifts in the kitchen where needed. And at the minute, I'm running Skipton and trying to keep that as tight as possible. So yeah, as an owner, you kind of do what you got to do, and we have the luxury of being flexible, being able to do that. You know, if you're an owner and you don't know how to do that, it's tough, isn't it? I don't know, you know, what do you do when you can't sort of jump on and help the team out? But yeah, it's a difficult one, you know. The managing side of it and managing people is quite a difficult part of it, really, I think.
Yeah.
It's phone ringing now. Yeah, so for me, that's kind of that side of it.
I'm just letting the phone ring out.
Good idea.
There we go.
You can no, still going. Someone persistent. It's all going on. I thought it would have cut into answer phone, man. Don't hang up on it.
Could be a big booking for you.
Yeah,
there we go. So I guess if you've got the like suburban model, or you sort of started off with like, you know, like suburban restaurant, was it much different when you went into that city centre? I mean, I was asking this question, then you said you were only there for 3 days and it was all good. So that's like
yeah, well, that's from a kitchen standpoint. So yeah, we had a great team in there, and it didn't need me in there in the kitchen. But as an actual running it as a restaurant and how it works, it's so different to any of the suburban restaurants. You just completely almost like the opposite. So suburban, the busiest days of the weekends. City centre, busiest days are usually the week. And I think you can see that in London as well. You know, Gordon Ramsay's, for example, doesn't open Friday, Saturday. So one, probably doesn't need to, and two, they're probably not as busy. You know, everyone leaves London, and it's the same kind of with the city centre. I mean, Saturdays are quite good. Sometimes you get an amazing Saturday, you know, a lot of people are out shopping and you have that kind of steady flow all day. And yeah, you get some great numbers. Friday's never been a super, around Christmas it's good. A lot of people have their Christmas parties on a Friday. But yeah, it's weird, you know, you can almost do as much on a Monday night as you can on a Friday night. So it's a different vibe, different offers, working leads to other things. And you get different clientele. So it's quite different. It's quite different, really, and quite, you know, I mean, obviously Leeds has been open for sort of 2.5 years. So you are getting a bit of a feel now for what works. And in this current climate, for example, the Leeds site that was the most consistent site up to start of COVID, Leeds is now the quietest by a distance because, you know, I don't know, people aren't as much in the city centre. Or they're finishing work and they're going home. So, you know, again, it's a different, where some of the other suburban areas are actually up, you know, they're up in number. Leeds is down, and it's just the latest challenge, the latest thing to think about and decide what we're doing. Hence the reason we set up Uber Eats in Leeds, because as a delivery service, I think you have to offer something. Whereas in the other areas, people are more than happy to come and collect, or, you know, you use local taxi services. So yeah, it's different and it's challenging. But I love the Leeds sort of city centre venue. It's got a completely different vibe. It's very industrial, very sort of cool, and, you know, that kind of chic city centre. You know, you compare that to Boston Spa. I mean, they're completely different, but both, you know, you get the same standard of food and the same service. It's just a different surrounding. So yeah, it's nice to have. It's definitely nice to have it as a string in your bow to say, you know, we are city centre. Just give me 1 minute. Butcher's tried to call me about 5 times. Hello? Hello?
Yeah. In terms of if you've got, like, obviously, like, quite a few investors or owners, what's the sort of, like, decision-making process within the company? You know, for example, like, you've decided to do Uber Eats in a particular restaurant. Like, how do you all go about just, like, making those decisions?
Yeah, so I must say, I guess, I think, you know, me and Ollie run the daily decision making. So, you know, they're quite supportive if we decide we're doing something. They don't usually say no. I mean, it's at the end of the day, we know that all the investors, they're not in catering, they're in completely different industries. So, you know, that's kind of why they do it with us, because we know the industry much better. You know, obviously, if it's a big decision, then we do have meetings, and it's mainly just the majority kind of rules. I mean, there's 4 main shareholders, and then, like I say, two slightly smaller shareholders, but we're usually all on the same page. And, you know, it's not, sometimes it's the hardest thing is getting everyone together to actually have those meetings. But, you know, they're quite happy for us to sort of, you know, have the final say, as it were, because we've got the experience, and we're on the floor, we know what's happening, and so it's not usually a problem. You know, there's never been a, you know, kind of, no, I want this, you want that sort of thing. It's never been a dust up. So that's a good thing. But yeah, it makes it a bit more tough because, you know, there's, like I say, there's lots of people to consider and speak to, but, you know, they've all helped us get where we are, and, you know, you can't really take that, you know, can't take that away. So, you know, without them, we wouldn't be here, and, you know, it's just little things, little obstacles that you have to overcome, and we usually do. So,
yeah. And what, I guess this is a question, like, before COVID, what do you think was, like, the biggest challenge that you had setting up?
It's always staff. You know, just getting the right people, and getting them sort of working, you know, with you, and you know, putting the company, sort of first, and that it's always the hardest thing, getting the right people. There's loads of other little things. The biggest thing, the biggest worry I think from owning restaurant is it's not like other industries. It's not like IT or marketing, for example, where you know what's coming. You've got jobs booked up, and that, okay, well, this job's going to run to mid-November, and then I've got this. Do you know what I mean? And that income is going to pay for everything. Catering is so up and down, and so many variants that can affect it. Whether sporting events, people's, I don't know, road works outside your restaurant, or there's so many.
Another variable.
Let me just answer it and see if it is. Lexi, skip to. Look on.
I can read some great live content there.
After all that, so there's so many variants that my every week I'm the same. Monday morning you look at the bookings, and history tells you they usually pick up, but you're always like, I need, you need, I don't know, at the minute, like, we kind of know we need about 900 to 1,000 covers a week across the board to get that magic number where we need to be. And when you look on a Monday and you're at like 450, you're just like, usually they come, and obviously we do bits of marketing during the week, and every time you do something you get a spike, but it's just always that sort of worry really about we need to get these people in. Obviously staff don't have that worry, but as a business owner you do. So I guess that's always the sort of at the back of my mind really. So there's never really a day off, a relaxing day where, even on holiday, you're still thinking about it. You still got to know that you're going back to, if you have a quiet week where you lose money, then you have to go back to that. And but that's part of owning a business, I guess, and that's the sort of thing that you take on when you start it. So it's not a massive problem, but yeah, I mean that's it. And there is loads of little things, there's always little worries and stuff that come up that you have to deal with. But I think for me, the main ones were probably them, and still are. They always probably will be. You can't always go by bookings, as well. You might have, again, a pre-COVID Mother's Day, we had 100 and something people booked in each site or whatever. As soon as the announcement comes, don't go to restaurants, it just drops down to next to nothing. So it can always be, cancellations and stuff as well. So there's not really many guarantees. You can just keep doing what you're doing, keep producing, sort of good food and good service, and building a reputation, and then hopefully you'll always be where you need to be. So.
Yeah. And I guess going into COVID, and obviously we're kind of hopefully coming out the other side at the minute, but how difficult has that been in terms of managing that and trying to adapt?
Yeah, it was really difficult. It was really difficult at the start. Everyone's in the same boat. The government didn't give so many clear instructions, and there was a lot of people in limbo. I mean, we obviously stayed open as long as we could, and we trialled a takeaway option at the time, which was popular. It never would have done what we needed it to do to keep everyone at work. And then and every day we were waiting for new announcements to make our decisions, and it was always tough. You couldn't really do much till sort of 5:30, 6 o'clock at night until you knew what was happening. But I think at the time the biggest thing for us was staff safety. Obviously, we were asking people to come out when everyone's been told to stay at home, and also, is staying open damaging the brand and the business? One, from that side of things, and two, financially. So, obviously in the end the decision was taken away from us, and fair play to everybody in the government. Have been great for our industry. I know it was tough at the start, but I mean, you know, they've furloughed people. You know, they've given us so much help with VAT and with, you know, business rates and loads of stuff. So there's been help there. It's been tough. And then I guess once lockdown hit, I don't know, it was okay. You know, it was almost in a way nice. There's nothing you can do about the business. It was just, you know, in kind of hibernation mode, and you know, just nothing you could do. And we just focused on, obviously, one, coming out the other side, and two, what could we do during it to keep people's minds. So, you know, we kept ourselves busy. We set up a cooking channel. Set up 2 cooking channels actually. We got our Casita one, which has been really popular actually. We've got sort of great views on there, and you know, we've done a lot of our favourite dishes, the ones that people really want to know. You know, salted caramel parfait, belly pork, meatballs, treacle, popcorns, and we've done all those, and they've been really well received. Personally, I set up a separate cooking channel, which was more chef's basics, which is something that, you know, look to do for the future, cooking classes, and that's called Social Food Network, and that's designed to basically bring people together through food. You know, get people to, you know, it started off as a cooking channel, but the sort of growth is you know, is quite wide, and you know, get people to share their experiences through food and stuff. So that's kept us busy, and then we've also written a cookbook, which is the little book of tapas. That's all our signature dishes that people always ask us. You know, what's the recipe? How do you make it? How do you do this? How do you do that? And that's been printed now. That's going to be kind of released this week. So, you know, keep your eyes peeled for that. It's all the money sort of for the first kind of 300-400 copies. You know, certainly are going to go to charity, food charity, to Fair Share. And you know, if we can sell just sort of 300-400 copies, that's, you know, almost 20,000 sort of meals for, you know, homes up and down the country, and it's great, and it's, you know, it's something, you know, I've always wanted to do as well, put a cookbook together, and obviously it's two sort of birds with one stone. You know, we've been able to do that and have the time to do that. You know, it's taken a long time to put it together, and when you're working all the time, you probably wouldn't have been able to do it. So it has been good for that, and like I said, we can help out, you know, a charity really close to our heart, you know, obviously being a food charity and helping people that, you know, have not been able to sort of, you know, help themselves, then, you know, amazing. It'll be great. So yeah, we've kept busy, and then when it's come to reopening, it was a bit of a not mad panic, but again, you know, a bit short notice with sort of rules and guidelines and stuff we had to follow. But you know, I mean, you can see in the background, we've got signs, we've got sanitizers, we've social distanced our tables, we've disposable menus, we've got an online ordering app where, you know, you don't even have to have a waiter or waitress come to your table. You can just sit there and order if you want to. And it's popular in some of the sites, and some of the other sites people want it the old-fashioned way, which is fine. You know, we do that as well. But, you know, we've taken all the measures we had to, and people have been really sort of appreciative of that. You know, they've actually commented, and, you know, how kind of safe and spacious that all the venues feel, which is obviously mission accomplished, really. And now, yeah, it's just about slowly building up, really, slowly building back up, and people aren't coming out. You know, each week the bookings are growing. You know, they're going up. Obviously, this time of the year is our best time of the year, so it's kind of tough to see them only just growing at this stage and not being, you know, what they usually are. But, you know, no one knows how the year is going to play out. September, November, October, they might be busy this year because, you know, everyone's going on holiday, not everyone wants to go on holiday, and you know, there's 3.5 months of where people haven't been able to go out. So, you know, we're kind of hoping that it continues to grow, and these months are usually notoriously quite quiet. They're a bit busier, and then hopefully by Christmas, you know, you can be a bit more, not normal, but, you know, a little bit more sort of party vibe feel, and be able to get a few more tables back in, and again, you know, you're just waiting here on what the government are going to say. But yeah, minute we're just doing what we're doing. We're continuing with. We're going to ramp up the cooking videos again, start them back up. You know, there was a bit of a dip when we were reopening. Obviously, our focus was on there, but you know, again, we've got a good following there, and it'd be a shame to not give them more. So
nice. And I'll put all links to your channels and the cookbook and stuff in the show notes.
Yeah, awesome. Well, yeah. When are you thinking of putting this up? Because I can get something about the cookbook maybe as well and send that over. But
yeah, just send.
Or if you put something about it and put a link to Fair Share or whatever, then.
Is the cookbook something that you've always wanted to do kind of personally, or was that always part of the kind of business plan?
It's always been a nice idea. You know, to have your own cookbook, it's quite cool. I mean, I wouldn't say it was sort of, you know, on my mind from day one.
Yeah.
But you know, 2-3 years later, and people, you know, people love the food, and they really do. They really, you know, we get so much great feedback, and so many people asking for recipes. We do lots of cooking demonstrations, or when we're allowed to, you know, at cooking events, you know, the Yorkshire Show and Harewood House and stuff like this, and gets, again, you know, great feedback, and people love it. And to be able to share the recipes and give people, you know, that freedom, that knowledge, that information to go and give it a crack. I think it's great. And like I say, it is, from a personal point of view, it is a nice little touch to, you know, I don't think without COVID you'd have the cookbook. So
yeah,
you know, there's definitely sort of positives there. And there's a nice little bit in it about sous vide as well. You know, obviously we use a lot of sous vide in the restaurant. So there's a nice little bit at the back about, you know, beginner's guide, really, what it is, why you use it, you know, how to work out times and temperatures and all of that. So, you know, there's a bit in there for everyone. There's even a drink section as well, you know, how to make our espresso martinis and you know, some of our wines and special beers that we have on. So yeah, I mean, it's a good book. There's 100 and some pages. It's a fair book. So yeah, hopefully we can, you know, sell the copies that we've got for charity and make them some money. It would be great.
Yeah, that's awesome. And in terms of the YouTube channels, presumably sort of doing like the kind of chef demos and things over the years, you've been able to kind of develop those skills so you could do that.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been okay, really. Sort of, it's quite funny actually. One of the main comments is there's not many chefs that can cook and talk at the same time. But really, and then when you watch a lot of chef demos, they are silent. And, you know, they're just. Yeah. I mean, they're great chefs, but so focused on the cooking that they can't actually talk as well. And you know, luckily enough, I've always been able to do both. And although if I'm actually public speaking and I'm reading something, I'm terrible. I'm really nervous. I make loads of mistakes. But because it's sort of, you know, kind of freestyle, you know how to cook the food, it's second nature. You know, you really freestyle the way you present yourself, and that I'm really big-headed, but you know that I am good at, and you know, I do get some really good feedback on the demos that they're really enjoyable and fun, and not just, you know, well, you know, just chop the you know, which is what a lot of people do. So yeah, it has helped, and the first couple of sort of YouTube videos were quite strange, because I was sort of filming at home in front of the wife, and although obviously, you know, your wife and you shouldn't be, it was just a little bit strange, a little bit embarrassing, really, a little bit, you know. So I was a bit, not shy, but just, it was just a strange feeling, because she obviously does all the filming, and she's been great at it, and you know, all through lockdown she's done, you know, sort of 30 odd videos with me. So, you know, obviously thank you for the wife, but yeah, she's encouraged me to do it, and like I say, the Casita ones are all kind of signature dishes that we have on, and a few recommendations. We've had a competition about, you know, a 4-ingredient challenge, and we posted that. And then the social food network it was always meant to be chef basic skills, starting there, and then sort of teaching people how to fillet fish and bone chicken and stuff like that, and then move up to more restaurant stuff. So if you wanted to cook a great dinner party for friends, we can show you how to, to cook fish properly, serve it with a great, salsa or puree or, whatever, just little tricks of the trade because one thing I have learned from the cooking demos, and again, it needed to be pointed out to me because for me it's second nature, is the little tips, the little chef tips that you just come out with that people they just don't know,
Yeah.
It was, one was, putting greaseproof paper in a pan if it's non-stick to cook fish with, everyone was like, wow, that's amazing. I never even would have thought of that. And you kind of have to think, wow, yeah, I mean, you wouldn't you? For me, it's second nature.
Yeah.
And there's loads of stuff like that, loads of little things that you come out with that, top tips for some people, but for you, it's just part of it. And
yeah.
Maybe that's again why people enjoy the videos, because we do throw a lot of stuff like that into them, and we did start putting a few top tips around the restaurants as well. We used to have like table talkers on the tables, and there was a bit of a section that was top tips, and just little things that the marketing lady who helps us out a lot, she comes to the cooking events and she picks up on. She's like, "Oh, you said this." Like, "Oh, right, okay."
Yeah.
So just stuff like that, and but it's definitely helped. Definitely given the confidence to do it, and the good thing about the videos is a bit like a podcast. You can go back and you can edit. Obviously, when you're live and you're doing a cooking demo, there are no edits, so you've got to be a little bit more careful. But some of them are great. They have MCs there, and if there is a quiet time, not usually with me because I just talk all the time, but if there is a quiet time, they can prompt you and ask you questions, and you bounce off them a little bit, which is good. They're the nice ones. Then there's some you go to and you just have to keep chatting and tell people. And the worst thing for me must be if you're there cooking and trying your best and people get up and walk off. It must be pretty, especially when they're in the front row. You don't mind if they sneak off at the back, but you know what I mean. It must just be like, wow, give you confidence, a bit of a kick. So
like getting a buzzer on Britain's Got Talent.
No, what? Sorry.
Like getting a buzzer on Britain's Got Talent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 3 buzzers. But yeah, it is a bit like that. But they're good fun. I like them. This year we obviously had loads booked in. We've not been able to do any of them, which is a real shame. So, we took to do sort of 7 or 8 a year up and around Yorkshire. Yeah, I enjoy them. It's good. It's good fun.
Yeah. Did you do Oakley Food Festival?
The Oakley one, yeah. Again, obviously it's been cancelled this year, but we did last year. It was good. I think it was the first time. It was the first one they'd done down by the rugby club, and it was good actually. Yeah, it was really good.
Because Mike, the guy that puts on those, has been on the podcast a couple of times.
Oh, right, cool. Yeah.
So I guess what would you say to anyone kind of opening their own business or setting up a YouTube channel, just starting something new in general, or maybe focusing on opening up their own business? What if they're just starting out? What kind of advice would you give them? I.e. me, obviously.
I.e. you. Do you know what? I think if you're starting out, you need to. If you're like us and you're the guy doing it all, I think you have to obviously have a real passion. I think you need to have a real knowledge for what you're actually trying to achieve, and not just from a food point of view. How you want things to run, how you want the brand to look, and how you want people to sort of see the brand. And again, like we discussed before, if you're wanting to grow it to multiple, then almost decisions along the way need to be towards that as well. So kind of think, well, it isn't just one that I've got. I've got more. Even if you haven't, that's the kind of way. If you think like that, you will it will help along the way. But just be prepared to sort of work hard and make mistakes. You will make mistakes. Try to do your research and, whatever sets you apart, make sure that's what you talk about. And, when we opened Ilkley, in fact, when we've opened all the sites, part of the reason they have been quite successful on the openings is, one, again, we've been there and we've been, making sure, but we've always opened with a bang. We've always made sure we were fully booked for the opening weekend. In fact, for the opening 2 weekends, people can't get in opening night, they book the next weekend. And we've always done that, and we've never not been full, through social, start creating. I mean, I think Ilkley, we started social media about 2 months before we opened, and we just really created a buzz. We had followings, we had people asking about bookings before we'd even opened our bookings, which this is where you want to be. I think the last thing you want to do is open quietly, because it doesn't really show any confidence. You're not going to be busy. If you just pop up one day, you'll get a few people stumble in, but you're not going to be busy. So we always made a big thing about it. We had a separate budget for PR. We got in papers. We did everything we could. People knew we were coming. Not everyone, like I say, people still come now. They didn't know we were there, but the opening was busy and it was successful. And people that came in, we made sure they enjoyed it. It's a lot. It's a lot about being good from day one. There'll be problems. There'll be teething problems. It's how you deal with it. I think ultimately the food and the kind of experience needs to be spot on from day one. And partly what we did was, let's say Ilkley could technically do 80 covers on the opening night. We capped it. We said, right, we want to do 45. We do 45, and we want everyone that comes to have an amazing time. Plus, if people can't book, then they'll book for the next weekend, and that's the snowball effect. For the first sort of, kind of now really, but for the first couple of years, if you called up on a Thursday, there's no way you'd get a table for Saturday. Yeah. It was, it was just full, and it was a nice feeling. It doesn't continue forever, but then, if you called on a Saturday morning, you probably wouldn't get a table unless you wanted to eat at 5 or 9:30. So, it is, for me, that's kind of the main thing. Just believe in your brand, be confident, knowledgeable, and try to open with a bang and make sure people know you're coming, know what you do, make it quite clear, and yeah, just be prepared to work hard and do pretty much it all yourself for not a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, it is part of it, especially for the first sort of year or two. Just from my experience, I mean, you can open from day one and nail it and make loads of money. But we've, like I say, we've always invested a lot back into new venues and sort of kind of overstaffing. But yeah, that's what I would recommend. And the location is quite important as well. Yeah. It is a big part. I mean, there's a little bit behind it. It's good people will come. There is that. But you do, or we would limit slightly to bookings. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're not anywhere near anywhere, you're not going to get walk-ins, Yeah. So you have to rely on reputation and bookings, which does take time to build up. So, I think more for your focus, I think location is much more important. Yeah. You obviously need to rely on people just walking past and coming in. So, obviously a bit different for you, but we always thought that it could be a destination place as long as there's parking nearby. But it turns out, most of our places, they are quite still central. I mean, Skipton, it's not on the main high street, but you can walk there in a minute. Ilkley, it's not on the main high street, but you can walk. Do you know what I mean? And it's still in a hub and in a town, and it's just not. We just don't kill ourselves with the big high street rents, really. So, and have numbers, and with the numbers always sort of worst case scenario, and work to the lower number. So if you think you might do 50 meals a day, just say you can do 30.
Yeah.
If you're going to make money at 30, well, if you do 50, happy days.
Yeah.
But don't go in saying, yeah, I'm going to do 50 on a Monday, I'm going to do 200 on a Saturday, and then be the other way around where you're doing 20 on a Saturday, and all your numbers are completely,
Yeah.
irrelevant. So we kind of, with all the sites, obviously once you've opened up a couple, you get a better idea, especially if like rents and stuff are the same, you get a bit of a better idea, but you're always better to be on that cautious side than, just, it's an ego thing, thinking you're going to do so many covers. You always hope it, but
yeah,
the reality is you probably won't. We over time have adapted. We opened 7 days a week, all the sites when we first opened, and then you just adapt. Like, well, Monday's not worth opening, or Tuesday, Wednesday lunches, they're just not worth opening. You just adapt over time. But again, something that you're kind of doing probably. You're probably busier during the day, and you might decide that you close on an evening or you shut it. Do you know what I mean? It's just you kind of see what the demand is and go from there. But like I said, you'd probably be doing most of the work yourself. Small team to start, and yeah, but just know your product, believe in it, and be confident with it, and make it good. It's good. People will have it.
Yeah.
The main thing is that people have it and they go, wow, that's great. And they'll come back. People won't come to La Casita every day, but they might go for Bondi Bowl every day. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's a completely different offering. But if it's not good, they won't. So, but I've seen the menu. It looks good.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm excited. I'm excited for you about it. I think it's. I think you've been sort of working on it for a long time. I think the idea has been there for a long time, and a bit like me, you've done the graft and you've worked in the good places and you've taken all the knowledge that you want to take, and you've travelled, and again you've pulled bits from everywhere. And I think that's great. I think you'll be able to probably create something that other people haven't. I think it's just about getting these other little bits right, and it's not all about that when you're a business owner. It is the boring stuff as well. But I think the main thing is just making sure that the product is right and good and on point, and the other stuff will fall into place probably.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's interesting you say about like opening up with a bang, because I think there's so many times when, or probably the last couple of times, that I've been a part of opening up a new place, and like there's been a massive push to just get as many people in at the start, and I've gone, what? Why are we doing this? Like, because it's been a case of that we weren't ready for it.
Yeah.
So not to go against what you're saying, but I think I guess as long as you're ready for it, then I guess it's more about being ready for it than shoving loads of people into a place.
Yeah. Well, I've seen it so many times that a big restaurant, or even a big restaurant, any restaurant opens and it just gets slated.
Yeah, exactly.
And within 6 months it's shut. So, that's obviously not where you want to be. So why? There's a fine line between opening with a bang and then being greedy. You can pack in. We could have packed in 150 covers on our opening night, but it would have been an absolute, disaster. And you probably would have, upset 100 people that go away and tell an average of 5 people each. You've upset 500 people, and you haven't even started. So, there's a fine line between opening with a bang, which we did. There was great excitement about it, but then being realistic, for the first, as soon as the second weekend hit, we've done a week now, and it was all right. You start putting your numbers up, but again, yours being slightly different, but the last thing you want to do is, run out of food at 2:00 when you're supposed to shut at 5.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's a bit of a disaster, really. You might be. It's great that you've been busy and you've sold what you had, but it's not a great, oh, we went on opening day at 3 o'clock and it was shut. That word of mouth sort of spreads really quickly. But you'll feel much better about it if you open and it goes smoothly. It's and like I say, you don't want a reputation from day one, because that's really, really hard to claw back. And change people's mindset. I mean, there are certain group of people that go out when restaurants first open to criticise. You do get them, but on the whole, most people go out to new places because they want to support it, especially if it's a local place and something niche. There's no tap. There's one in Skipton, obviously there's a few in Leeds, but there's no tapas places anywhere else we've opened.
Yeah,
so it is niche. People have wanted to like it. Obviously the minus the few, but yeah, I mean, for me, that's my advice. It's different. Obviously some people have different advice. I mean, it's great to do, I don't know, 10 grand on an opening. Not that your sort of style would, but if you're a bar, let's say you do 10 grand on your opening night, great. But if you've upset everyone in there,
yeah, exactly.
That 10 grand's not going to go very far, is it?
Yeah.
When a month later you're doing 2 grand. So, yeah, I mean, that's just sort of my thoughts, and that's how we've opened up. And we've always done like a soft opening, so we've always done like a friends and family opening. So you kind of test the system. So you invite, 30 or 40 people, all come, all order whenever you want, order whatever you want, and kind of test all the systems a bit.
Yeah.
So we've always done that, and then we've always done a press night. So it's almost a 3-night opening, and then we did the friends and family on a Wednesday, the press on a Thursday, and then Friday we open the public. So at least everyone's had a bit of a the last thing you want to do is open sort of day one and get loads of orders on, and you're just like, what we're doing. So that might be worth looking at. Just invite, I don't know how it would work. Maybe go around Manchester and give a few flyers out to some select people and say, if you come on Wednesday, you'll get not you and 10 of your mates.
Yeah.
Come on Wednesday, you'll get a free bowl. You just budget. It's just in your opening budget. Do you know what I mean? You're not really losing money. It's in your opening costs, and you just factor in, like, we'll give 500 quid's worth of bowls away, and we'll test it. Maybe they might not all come, but there's no biggie. At least you've got some people in, and you've tested it, and you've got a bit of feedback from them. Especially if they're going to dine in, if they sit in, then you can give them comment cards, and at least it gives you some instant feedback. And people aren't paying, so people aren't that bothered if it's not 100% right. The good thing with friends and family is it's honest friends feedback and family feedback. So again, you're not upsetting anybody. I'm not sure how it would work with what you want to do, but obviously, we've been able to get friends and family come to our, because it's slightly different. It's a sit-down meal for a longer period of time, but it's good because it's honest feedback, and you take it on board better, because they're only there to actually help you and, like I say, give you honest feedback.
Yeah. I like the idea of like underperforming and what's the phrase now? It's gone now. Under promising and over delivering.
Yeah, exactly, mate. It's the best thing to do. That's 100% the best thing to do is that have people have one opinion and completely change it.
Yeah.
To a positive, obviously. Like you just said, if you go to, let's use a pub for example, and you order, I don't know, just something that costs a tenner, where in some places, it might cost more, but it's only 10 quid, and then you come and you go, wow, that was really good.
Yeah.
And there's some of the best places that I go for Sunday lunches and stuff, ones that don't try to rip you off and good value, and you eat them, and they're massively better than other places charging you, 20-30% more. So
yeah,
definitely. I mean, I'm not sure, I can't remember the price point of your bowls and stuff, but you kind of look in what's on the market or similar stuff at the minute, and if you can be around a similar but do it better, then you know what I mean. People are going to be expecting one thing, and they're going to go, "Wow, no, Jamie's Bondi bowls are so much better at the same price."
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah.
Sweet, man. This has been awesome. Have you got anything else coming up, or any final thoughts?
Just cracking on, really. We're just like I say, we're just trying to build back up the sort of not the brands, but the awareness that we're back open, and start to try and encourage more people out, and increase the takeaway. I'm going to do a couple of offers on takeaway, sort of a Tuesday, Thursday offer to try and get a few midweek takeaways, sort of bump that up a little bit. And then back on the videos, really. I'm going to sort of slowly start getting the Casita one back up, and the Social Food Network one back up. Set aside some time a week to kind of push on with that. It's great to have the videos, actually. It's another little string to your bow. And again, people are asking, "Oh, how do you make that?" Well, I've actually got a video on YouTube that you can watch and do. So, and then the Food Network one's a bit more, different. I can do loads of different stuff on there. So I did like a ceviche cover on there the other week, which is a classic Czech dish, which we actually had at our wedding, which was just nice. It's got a nice little sort of sentimental touch.
Mm.
We did that last weekend, and that was great. And it just gives a bit more flexibility. But apart from that, it's the same old. It's just pushing on the brand of La Casita, and hoping that we come through and get through Christmas, and everything disappears, and next year will be a great year. So that's it, really. It's just keep doing what we're doing. It's it's doing all right. So
awesome, man. Awesome.